Hello and welcome back to Vlogmas. This is going to be Vlogmas number 10.
Woohoo!
We've got Steven here for our annual Vlogmas Couples Q&A.
Is it annual?
I mean, we do it pretty much every year.
Wow, cool.
Can I say it's annual? It's been like
Yep.
4 years.
It's good filler content. No, it is a good excuse to do these though.
It is.
So.
And there were a lot of good questions. It was kind of hard to pick because there were so many good ones and I was like, this video can't be 8 hours long. But I think I got a good variety. And a lot of these questions are like aimed towards you specifically, some towards us as a couple.
Ah! All right.
You ready?
Let's do it.
All right, first question. How do y'all handle Santa?
So that's a good question because it was only through like my relationship with Sierra that I realized like there's actually some thought put behind it. I think in our family, I don't even remember, like I don't even recall it, but it seemed like a lot was from Santa and a little bit was from parents. But then you introduced like a different way of thinking about it and then like, oh, this is why it should be thought about differently. It's like, whoa, I don't even know it was that complex, but it makes sense.
Yeah, when I was growing up, Santa did like a stocking for each me and my siblings and then a small present. And I wanted to keep doing that and have most of the gifts come from us as parents versus Santa with Grace because then it doesn't create, you know, like an inequity with other families as she gets older who, you know, maybe don't do a lot of gifts from Santa. It's like, why did Santa bring you, you know, all these big gifts and not as much for some other families? So we do Santa. Santa brings just like that, a stocking and a small gift. And we've also, and this was something that Steven was like, I hadn't thought about that at all, was like we've removed the surveillance aspect because I feel like it's kind of creepy, like, oh, Santa's
surveillance.
He's watching you. He's making and like the morality of like if you're good he brings you presents, if you're bad he doesn't.
See, now I don't know if this is like my pea brain or my Steve brain. But like there's so much like extra thinking into it that I never would think about. So like for me it's just like, woohoo, Santa coming for Christmas, and then like that's it. So very surface level.
And I feel like that's how we've done it with Grace.
Yeah.
I just don't want her being like, oh my god, I have to be good because of Santa.
I know there's a lot more layers of onion there that I'm probably naive about, but
But we do Santa, and I feel like that almost has become like somewhat of a controversial thing.
Has it?
I don't know. There's a lot of, you know, talk about, is it good to do Santa? Should you not? How should you navigate it? But that's how we've decided to do it. And I mean, every year is different because she's growing and changing so much. I feel like last year was kind of her first time really being introduced to that stuff, and this year she's like all about it.
Yeah.
So I'll probably continue to change and adapt as well. All right, my husband wants kids, but isn't sure he'll ever actually feel ready. Can you and Steven talk on this?
Oh yeah, that's easy. I didn't feel ready until like an hour after Grace was born. But that's the cool part about kids. Like I never felt ready. I was like, oh, like maybe if I read a book I'll feel ready. And that obviously didn't do anything. I think it was like literally an hour after Grace was born. I was like staring at her and I was like, oh my god, I'm a dad. And then it was like, oh my god, I'm a dad and I can do this. I don't know, it's like human instinct. Like obviously how many billions of humans are out here and people are parents and like it is a thing that comes naturally. Like it comes naturally to birds and the trees and like, I don't know. I think it's kind of cool, but I would just say don't worry about not feeling ready for it because you never will. Or at least in my brain I would say that. Yeah. I don't think I ever would have sat there and be like, I am ready. But
you did at some point get to the point of, okay, I'm ready enough to start trying.
Yeah.
Like, right? That there was some switch between like, I eventually want kids and okay, I maybe don't feel like 100% ready, but I'm ready to try.
Yeah, like I was ready to proceed into that next stage of life.
Yeah.
But I did not feel like I was ready to raise a kid.
And what got you there? I'm ready to proceed to the next stage.
It's hard to put myself back in that situation. I think it was just like I was kind of coming out of school, I was so hyper motivated by like a career and work. So like that was like, I can't think about kids yet, let me focus on this. And I kind of got to that point and then I got to the point where it's like, oh, this is just a job. So like, I was kind of like, I'm ready for what's next. And then obviously we had been talking about it for a while. So I think all those added up, but I don't think there was any one thing.
I think a big part of it, too, was that we did all of the things that we really wanted to do before having kids. And I think that's helped us, too, in, like, really settling into parenthood and not feeling like, oh, I'm missing out on this, or, you know, this thing would be easier if we did it before we had kids, because we're like, we did a lot of the things that we wanted to do before we had kids. And so we were ready to step into that next stage of, like, really, in a sense, surrendering the life that you knew for the life that you want to have in expanding your family.
Yeah.
What does Steven do for work exactly? My husband majored in CS.
Do you know what CS means?
Computer science?
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a programmer. I kind of have fun like keeping both worlds separate when I can. So yeah, that's what I say. I'm a programmer. I write code all day. I sit in meetings. I'm very much in corporate America. I sit in a cubicle. Yeah, that's what I do. So it's kind of fun. I've been doing it for like 7 years now. So I'm pretty situated. I'm very blessed to be in the industry I'm in. It obviously, pays pretty good benefits, keeps things secure at home. So that's what I do. I program things. I tell computers what to do through code. But also, I guess, to add one piece, I guess if people are like, oh, I'm CS, or I know someone who's CS, like, what do you do? Like, I work in a lot of languages. I do a lot of things, and I think that's been representative over my, 7 years of work, is I have not narrowed in on one thing. I've done, embedded computing, networking, cloud environment stuff. I write things in, Python, C++. Python, C++ are my languages, so yeah.
Bilingual. He speaks human and computer. All right. Have your parenting methods ever clashed? And if so, how did you navigate it or compromise?
Did our parenting methods, sorry, my brain's still on computer science.
I feel like we agree on most things. We agree on all the big things. So when we do have a difference of opinion, it's usually pretty minor. So I feel like it's easy to navigate.
Yeah, I think to our parenting. So I guess parenting methods is already a weird word for me. I don't feel like I have a method and you have a method.
You have the Steve method and I have the Sierra method.
Yeah, so I think we disagree on little things all the time. Oh, should she do this? Nah. Oh yeah. And it's oh, why not? I don't know. I think I don't even understand the whole methods thing enough to even warrant a response. Does that make sense?
Yeah, maybe not methods then. Maybe just parenting opinions.
Yeah, nothing major. I feel like as a couple, we talk and we almost always come to a conclusion. There's not anything that we haven't come to a conclusion on, right? I don't know. I
think the only time it's hard to navigate is when in the moment with Grace there, one of us says or does something that the other one is immediately no, don't do that. Don't navigate it that way. And then we're trying to make sure that we're presenting as a united front with Grace, but also trying to figure it out in the moment while she's there.
Yeah. Nothing big though. There's no super big thing that we're oh no.
Yeah. Luckily.
Yeah, I guess luckily. Maybe I'm taking that for granted.
Would Steven ever work full time for the channel/brand?
Wow. Yeah, so there was a period of time where that was a thought.
It was really when I was pregnant with Grace I think if it was going to happen, it would have happened then. That's when we had the most serious discussion of okay, what do we want our work life and our childcare situation to be like?
See, I would not have answered it that way.
Really?
Because that's when I think the opposite. That's when I would have leaned more into work. Because for me, this whole YouTube journey has been stability, and it's I guess nothing's guaranteed any days, especially with the current, market and everything in the tech world, especially. But it's going into pregnancy and stuff is oh, now we have a kid. And we need the family unit is more important, so therefore get the security through a more traditional job.
Right, and have health insurance and guaranteed income. And
right, so that's where it's I leaned away from the channel in that kind of sense. But there was definitely a time, I'd say a couple years before that, when things were just woo, and I was I could totally do that. We would probably, as a family, be better off if I came and helped and made some more vlogs and stuff. But I get a lot of fulfillment out of working, out of programming, and contributing to products and stuff like that. So I had a long introspective, and I was you know what, I want to keep doing that. And at some point we joked about it. That was my daycare during the day. I would go do my job as just something to do during the day. But the real interesting stuff coming out of the house was Sierra. Also, I keep shaking the table. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
So I never did it. Now I think even more, especially with a kid and another kid coming, it's let me lean into the traditional stuff and get the security blanket that way.
Yeah, I agree. I think if it was going to happen, it would have been a couple years ago. And at this point, no. Because as a family, having that stability and that guarantee is not only so great for our family and not only so fulfilling for you, but I think it also allows me to not worry quite as much about statistics and finances with the channels, because there is that stability of you having another job. It's not all coming to me. And so
yeah,
I don't feel as much pressure as I think I would if this was everything.
Right. But yeah, I've always found security and enjoyment through work, so I never seriously considered too much to leave.
Yeah, and I think it's really good for our relationship too. You do invaluable work for Sierra Schultzzie as a company, and you doing that as, your side hustle, I guess, as your extra thing is really great. And I think it's a good amount of time that we get to work together, but I think also having that not be your primary work is really good for us.
Yeah.
All right. Did you ever experience gender disappointment after finding out about girl number 2?
Why are you looking at me?
Well, I feel like it's more geared towards you. I don't know. I can answer first. Maybe.
I don't know. I think I'm gonna have the interesting answer, not you.
Yeah, I low-key wanted another girl. I didn't have a super strong preference, but I remember a couple weeks before we found out, Steven and I were laying in bed, and I was like, what do you think it is? Because the more I think about it, I kind of want it to be another girl. Like, I feel like the thing usually is, you know, oh, you want one of each.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I had this feeling of like 2 girls and for Grace to have a sister, and I never got to have a sister, and like, that's just such a special bond that you get to have.
Yeah. No, I agree.
You were like, honestly, I kind of do too, and that surprised me because you had talked about how you did have this desire to have a boy.
Yeah, so I think for me, one, I grew up in a house of boys, so it was my mom and my dad and me and my brother. So I never quite knew what it was like to grow up with a girl. I don't even know how to word that. Have a sister. Or like watch a girl grow, right? I never really did that. That's a weird way of wording it, but...
Yeah, no, I'm following.
Does that
Keep going.
Like, I've seen boys start as, like, me and my brother. Like, I know how we grew up and explored the world. I don't know how a girl does that. So, like, having a girl at first was very foreign. Like, oh, God. So, having Grace has been, like, the most rewarding and special thing in my entire life. So, I love being a dad to a girl, and I love the idea of being a dad to 2 girls. So, I'm very excited about that. And I think I did lean towards that way because, especially just after Grace, was like, oh, I understand girls. I understand baby girls. I understand blah, blah, blah. So, like, that is more known to me, that is more comfortable, so yeah, I kind of lean that way. But I would say I have like little tempting what ifs, and I think this would have happened no matter what. I think if we had a boy coming, I would have been like, oh, what if we had 2 girls? And then now that we have a girl, it's like, well, what if we had a boy and a girl? So I think the what if scenario will always kind of hover over me, but super excited.
Yeah, no disappointment.
Definitely no disappointment. I think just a little lingering, like, oh, what if scenario.
Yeah.
You know, like in life you have those branches and you're like, what would have been like over there? I think this is just one of those moments where I kind of pondered that.
Yeah.
So. And
I think also with us, like, leaving the door open for number 3, but not being totally decided either way, it does kind of then add that question of, well, what if the next one was? What if there is a next one, and how would that be? Do you have any parenting regrets?
Regrets?
I have.
Dude, that's a good exercise to do before this second kid.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it really is.
Like, if I could change anything, what would I change?
I have one really kind of minor one, but it was really the first thing that I went like, oh, I definitely want to do this differently. I noticed when Grace was about 1.5 and she started talking a lot more that she referred to all of her toys as he. And I didn't realize, but every time I would play with the toy, oh, he's going over here. Oh, let's say hi to him, everything. Like, I just defaulted to him, and I didn't realize it until she started doing it. And I was like, oh, now I'm gonna be a lot more intentional about like saying she, saying they, and saying he, and just mixing it up instead of it always being he. And I changed that, and then she kind of adjusted. And this next go around, I'm going to be aware of it and make sure that not everything is male by default.
I was never aware of any of this.
Really?
Or even that you thought this.
Yeah. I thought I talked about this with you. Maybe I talked about it with Kenzie.
So let's see here. Any regrets? I don't know. I'd probably have to think more, but I don't think so. I feel like everything went about as well as it could have gone. And like, I feel like we never had to make any crazy decisions with Grace.
Yeah.
I think maybe one regret, or just like something I'm going to work on being more strongly opinioned on was like for Grace at some point there was a point where we switched, like, or started adding in formula. Mm-hmm. And I feel like had we done that much earlier, life would have been way better.
Yeah.
And that was you, and that was like a, delicate thing to balance with moms, because there's a lot of pressure in that regard. But I think next time I would try to be more strong opinion to like work with you to be like, Sierra, we got to do this. But I think you're already on the same page. So like, but anyways, like looking backwards, like that would have probably really improved a month or 2 of our lives.
Yep. That's something I said in my solo Q&A.
Okay.
That I want to breastfeed again, but I will absolutely be quicker to supplement with formula or switch to formula because I think I pushed too hard too long. And I think it did a detriment to me and to just us as a family. Do you have names picked out?
Picked out? No.
We have it down to 3. And
Kind of, sort of.
That's the thing. Like, if another name comes across that's better, it's not like it's for sure one of these 3. It's, in vague terms, one that we love and have had on our list forever and was a contender for Grace, and like we just always come back to it. Mm-hmm. One that I love, and Steven likes, and I've got some coercion to do. But I thought you were, for a while, I was like, okay, he's never going to come around to this one. So I asked Steven like a couple weeks ago, I was like, should we just take this one off the list? Like, I don't know, if you're never going to come around to it, like, let's just stop considering it. And you were like, no, I like it. I think I'm coming around to it. Let's keep it.
So just to correct the language there, I would not say I've liked anything. I am neutral to certain ones. So this is like, I feel like it's a whole bigger discussion. Like, for some reasons, like with Grace, I was such an active participant in like playing the name game. And this time it's like just dragging my feet. Like, no, like I can't think about it because that means it's like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just...
It's like coming too soon if you...
Yeah, and I don't know. It's this weird comparison of like with Grace who's like laying in bed and like looking at the stars like, oh my God, we can think about everything. And now it's just like, it feels so busy and crazy. That's like, at someday the baby's gonna be there. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's coming.
Well, and like we've spent maybe a total combined, like an hour talking about names. That's it. Like we have not talked that much about names or like gone that much in depth with it. I think because of you. I think because you're...
There's no I think. It's strictly like I don't know. So I'm like very excited for little baby girl to come. Yeah. But it's like my brain's just like, no, we have time. Like this is so early. Like but it's like, no, it's coming. So I don't know. It's like this weird thing I'm kind of dragging my feet on, but I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, and then the third one is a Grace chosen name that is vaguely Disney related. And I like that one more and more every day.
Yeah. You know what it might be? It might be that I kind of got low-key stressed out by the name game before, and like how it played out at the end was like all of that initial speculation didn't really matter because like kind of when we found the name Grace, like it just worked.
Well, we tried a couple names before we settled on Grace. We would like refer to the baby as that name for like a week or so. And I think Grace was like the third one that we tried out.
I feel like it was kind of the first one because that's how my brain works. Once I try something, I'm like, yeah, this is it. So I think that's like what I learned with Grace. Was like this time I'm like trying to avoid that. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just creating excuses. It'll come. I'm not worried about the name because I know it'll come. So I don't want to stress out about the name.
All right, next question. Does Grace eat meat now or is she still doing the fish only thing? So when Grace started eating foods, solids, we started her with a pescatarian diet. So I am a vegetarian. Steven is not.
Yep.
And just based on like our family and talking to Grace's pediatrician, we decided that pescatarian was a good place to start.
Yeah.
And for me, the most important thing is not that Grace eats the way I eat or, you know, follows things that I follow, but that she has like the autonomy when she's old enough to make those choices for herself.
Yeah, the way I word it is like you want to afford her the opportunity to have some say.
Yeah, to choose.
Which, totally respectable, I get that. But I think it's kind of the time to start questioning that.
Yeah, and I think she's not going to end up being a vegetarian.
No, I agree. I think she, like, fish was really cool. Like, going camping and fishing with Grandpa was really cool because she totally understood, we're going to get that fish, we're going to catch it, we're going to, like, literally gut it and then eat it.
Yep.
And then she happily ate it. So, like, she totally gets it. So I feel like she is more than enough capable to kind of, at least to the threshold that we've set.
Yes, because to me that was the most important thing. When I was a child, I didn't know where meat came from and I ate meat. And one day when I found out, I felt very upset and like betrayed.
Yeah.
Because I didn't realize I was eating animals and that made me really upset. And so for me, I just wanted to make sure that Grace understands. And I didn't know what age she would understand, right? Yeah. Maybe it's 5, maybe it's 2. But it was really on that camping trip where I realized she fully understands. We saw the fish in the river. Mm-hmm. She saw the fish. She was excited. She watched Grandpa catch the fish. Yeah. She held the fish off the pole. Yep. She watched him clean it, cooked it, ate it, and she was pointing at the fish wrapped in the foil on the campfire going, that's the fish. That's the fish from the river.
Yeah, so I think Sierra and I are probably going to have a conversation in the next couple of weeks about this. At least try it out. Like, I think she's old enough to
understand.
Ask and try and things like that.
Yeah. 2 questions left. Around what age are y'all going to introduce video games to your girls?
/ online gaming. So gaming and online gaming, 2 different things. We must have already talked about this.
We have not talked about the Mickey Mouse game. That's why I picked this question, because this is like Steven and Grace's like #1 bonding activity right now, other than like Legos.
So this must have happened, we must have gotten sick months ago.
No, you know when it started?
What?
When I was at Bethany's bachelorette party. You texted me and you were like, hey, we haven't really fully had this conversation, but there's a game that I kind of want to try with Grace, and what do you think? And I was like, my 2-year-old playing a video game?
Yeah,
like,
that's right. Okay,
but then when you showed it to me, I was like, totally on board.
I was home alone with Grace for 2 whole days, which, whew, that's a long time. And it was like one day we're sitting around, and I forget what happened, but like I'm just like, oh, I was kind of, maybe she was napping. I was like researching like what are fun games to play with like a 2-year-old, like what games are appropriate. And then I found this Disneyland Adventures. It was an old Microsoft or Xbox Connect game where you just walk around Disneyland and you meet characters and you hug them and you get their autographs, and then you like help Ariel find, you know, dingle hoppers on the ground. I was like, that could work. So I asked Sierra, and Sierra's like, yeah, sure. And Grace calls it the Mickey Mouse game, and she freaking loves it. And it's so fun, and like, we play once a week, and I usually allocate her like 20 minutes, and she kind of gets bored after like 5 or 10. But man, those first 5 or 10 minutes are like top tier life. Like, she loves it.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, who we're gonna help out today? Like, oh, let's go help out like, I don't know, Ariel or Buzz Lightyear, and you know, I don't know. It's a fun game. So for Christmas, I want to get her one of the Lego games, or the Lego Avengers, or whatever they call it, Lego Marvel. That will probably be too complicated for her, but
yeah, because with the Mickey Mouse game, Steven does the controller and Grace stands up in front of him and runs around as her character.
Yeah.
So like there are challenges where they have to like dance with the princesses and Steven's like hitting all the buttons and she's like dancing with the princess.
Yeah, no, it's freaking adorable.
It's so sweet. And it's funny because like, hold on, camera's blinking. 1 second. Okay, we're back. But yeah, I feel like it's one of those things where on the surface, and even with my initial reaction, it was like, I don't know, like a 2-year-old playing video games, but I feel like it's honestly one of the most high quality screen time activities she does because it's you guys together. She is like so interactive, and it's just like every time I see you guys playing it, it just like warms my heart.
Yeah, and so I definitely agree. I think it's also just part of the bigger like video game discussion. Like, I don't know, video games get thrown in a bad light, and as a guy who just loves video games, I'm very biased, but like, I don't know, you go sit down and watch a movie with your friends or hop online and play a game and be creative, and I don't know. So I see a lot of value in games.
And social. Like for you, playing
social.
Online games with your friends.
Like me and Grace could sit point. Yeah, I don't know. I think, like I said, I'm Steve Method, so I never claimed to be a science expert on when the right time is to play games, but me and my daughter do it. We have a lot of fun. We're really engaged and laughing and like pointing at things, and I don't know. I think it's been a good decision.
I think so too. So, I'm glad you guys found that as a hobby to do together. All right, last question. What do you admire most about each other's parenting styles?
Sierra's patience is inspiring. I mean, it's cool. Like, I don't know. I think, and that's like, it's not only brought like patience to how I approach Grace and parenting, but also like seeing your patience for Grace has also just leaked out to my whole life of like, hey, like, everything's fine. Like, I don't know. It just makes me look at things a little differently through the eyes of like being a parent. But I'd say that's the biggest thing about you.
Thanks. That was so nice, and I didn't expect that.
Saying you're patient.
Yeah, I don't know. And
it's like the patience, but also the patience in continually getting on her level. And like, I feel like that's reflective of just how people should approach life. Like, be patient and get on people's level. The world's a better place. If it works for a 2-year-old, it works for everything. My
favorite thing about the way you parent is how loving you are and how amazing you are at expressing that. I feel like you tell Grace that you love her and she's amazing and she can do anything like 500 times a day. And that little girl is going to grow up with 0 questions in her mind about like how much her dad loves her and would do anything for her. Yeah, being a parent's cool. It is. I love parenting with you, and I can't believe we're about to do it again. Yeah, buckle up. It's coming. Little nameless babies coming in hot. Yeah. All right. Well, that is everything that we have for you. Thanks for doing the Q&A. You had great answers. I know. This was fun. I got to do this during my lunch break today. So I got DoorDash, which is a special treat, and it's actually sitting right there now. It's looking quite enticing. Got some Thai food in today. Yeah. When I ran downstairs to get the other camera battery, I brought Steven's Thai food in, and I keep noticing you glancing over there at it. I just know that when I'm done here, I'm going to do that and go straight to a meeting and eat lunch. All right, go enjoy your Thai food. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in a couple days for the last 2 Vlogmas videos of the year. Bye. Bye.